Background: I work for a third-party logistics company, nothing too fancy. An example of what we do is one of our clients is a local chain, leaving it ambiguous for privacy reasons, that hires us to fulfill their online sales. Every so often, we receive more orders than we have the inventory to fulfill. When this happens, I'll usually volunteer to go to one of the actual stores and pick up the merchandise we need to get us through until our next restock. I've been mistaken for an employee there dozens if not hundreds of times by this point, and I don't even blame the customers. I'm often seen carrying around merchandise, I'm often wearing a safety vest, and by this point I know my way around the stores better than a lot of the actual employees. Most of the time I just help the customer because it's usually an easy problem and I try to be a nice person. That's a lie, I'm actually just horrible at saying no, but I'd never actually met a Karen until this incident. Also worth noting is that since I'm not actually an employee of the store, I'm not allowed into the back for any reason. The story: someone in China ordered 200 American flag coffee mugs for some reason, so I'm visiting my friends to get the merchandise so we can fill this order. The manager spots me before I even make it through the door and hides behind a corner to spook me. Normal Tuesday so far. They go to the back to get the coffee mugs for me and I just start browsing the t-shirts because it'll take 2 minutes to get the mugs. That's when the lady approaches. "Lady, excuse me, could you show me where the blue, insert brand here, t-shirts are?" I thought this was a little weird since I was wearing a blue t-shirt and shorts, while the store employees all wore red polos. But she seemed nice so far and I actually did know where the shirts were since I had bought one for myself here not too long ago. Me: "Yeah. They're right over here, I can show you." "Lady, thank you." I lead her literally 20 feet over to a massive display with a mannequin wearing the shirt and everything. Me: "There you go." And I start walking away. Her: "Ugh, I already knew about these. You're out of larges, go get me one and be quick about it, I'm in a hurry." Confusion as to why she'd ask where the blue shirts were without mentioning she knew about these hit me before recognition of the suddenly disrespectful tone did. Me: "Oh, I'm sorry, you'll need to find an employee to go to the back and check to see if they have more." Lady: "Yeah, go do it." Me: "Oh, I don't actually work here." Lady: "You're wearing your work shirt." I look down and sure enough, I am indeed the shirt I'd bought here earlier and she wanted in her size now. To be clear, it's definitely not a work shirt, but it is the same brand as the store with a big logo on the front. Congrats to anyone who saw this plot twist coming. At this point I'm more understanding as to why she thought I was an employee and was about to offer to go find an employee for her when I realized she hadn't stopped talking. I didn't catch most of her speech, but this is when I returned my attention to her. Lady: "Millennials are so F_ing stupid, I told you I'm in a hurry, so F_ing get me a shirt so I can F_ing go already." Me: "Ma'am, I'm not an employee, Her: "F_you." And she grabs me by my ponytail and tries to lift my shirt over my head. I guess she wanted my shirt now? For the record, I'm clearly not a large, but I guess she wasn't thinking enough for that to make sense. By this point my shirt is completely over my head and I'm just twisting trying to get it back down before my bra is displayed to the whole world and my hand hits ... something. She stops trying to rip my shirt off and I immediately pull it back down to see her sitting on the ground holding her face. We stare at each other for a few seconds, both obviously in shock at what just happened before she stands up and just storms out of the store. An employee I'm pretty good friends with comes over and asks what just happened and I just say I had no F_ing idea. Eventually the manager gets back and we go watch the security camera, and it turns out I had nailed her right in the cheek with a closed fist. He asked me if I was alright, and I just laughed it off saying I was probably better than she was. I never actually saw the lady again. I'm half hoping she tries to press charges or something so the story gets even better. But this is my first I Don't Work Here Lady story that was actually worth sharing and I think it's a pretty good one. Sorry if it was a little wordy, but let me know what y'all think. Edit: at the behest of many of you, I'm going to file a police report today, the day after I posted this. I have no intention of getting her arrested or anything. I think that would be massive overkill considering I'm perfectly fine, but just in case she comes after me or does something like this again, it's better to have it on record. I live in a small town that's 95% English speaking. There are a few French families due to the local industry. I speak enough French, about as well as an 8-year-old native speaker, that I made friends with a neighbor who doesn't speak English and can't drive because of seizures. Her husband has been out of town for work for the last few months, so I've taken her grocery shopping and to run errands. Her computer died last week, so I took her to the big box computer store to look at a new one. I work in electronics, as a technician, so I know a thing or two about brands, quality, pricing, and what computer to get based on her needs. I'm standing at the computer area with her, telling her about all the specs, tower versus laptop, etc. etc. I notice someone in my peripheral vision, but I ignore it. Our conversation switches over to school starting soon. Our daughters ride the bus together, when the lady behind us pokes me in the shoulder and starts barking, in French. I need help too. You need to stop chatting and start helping. Do you know how hard it is to get help in French around here? Big box employees wear blue polo shirts and slacks. I'm wearing a hippie maxi dress and Birkenstocks. I start trying to explain that I don't work here, but I think that's when she picked up on my obvious Anglo accent. She starts talking to me like I'm a misbehaving toddler. I need you to help me set up my home network. I don't have time for you to chat about your kids. Have fun finding a job once you manager hears you're chatting about your kids instead of working. At this point my neighbor pushes me out of the way. She's about twice as big as the Karen yelling at me. She walks up to the Karen and just shouts at her for 2 minutes. I couldn't catch most of it because I only know school French, but I'm picking out a lot of F-bombs. One of the staff comes up and tries to ask what's going on, but they aren't paying him any attention. When he realizes they're not English, he walks away. I guess he didn't think he could help. Karen storms off in a huff. I wish I know what was said. Also, my neighbor is awesome. Edit to add, my neighbor told me what she said, but she paraphrased it for me because my French isn't stellar. Who do you think you are, bugging my friend? What about her says she works here? You are being very rude to my friend who is being very nice. If you had asked nicely, I'm sure she would have helped you. More edit, thank you for the gold and other awards. I hope this fits here and that the formatting isn't weird or too many errors. I'm typing this at 5:30 a.m. because I can't sleep. This happened in 2016 but is a favorite story of mine. My paternal grandparents own a custom frame store that also sells giftware, jewelry and needlework supplies. At this time their store was quite large. I'll explain a bit of the layout to help the story. There was the front and the back separated by a wall with a door, both were huge rooms. In the front was of course all the merchandise and the back was where my grandfather did the framing. In the front there was a giant counter, the middle had the till and on each side were huge counters where customers would pick stuff for their pictures. It was spacious behind that counter. On to the story. My daughter was maybe a month old when my grandmother called me asking if I would be able to help her for a day. She had a craft show she was going to and needed to pack a bunch of giftware, but she was being dragged away by errands that had popped up. She already had everything set aside on one of the side counter. All I had to do was pack them up safe. I wouldn't have to deal with any customers or other store stuff, just packing giftware. No heavy lifting, and I could bring my daughter. Of course I say yes since I love helping at the store. I want to note here I don't get paid to do this, I do it because I want to help. The next morning I get to the store and my grandma shows me everything she needs packed and takes off to her errands. I begin packing while my daughter sleeps in her playpen off to the side of the counter with the giftware. A couple hours later an elder Karen comes in and begins to look around. I keep an eye on her. A lot of elderly ladies steal, but don't notify my grandfather right away in the back because sometimes people look and go. This one unfortunately did not and instead came to the counter. Elder Karen, hello, is Karen, Grandma, here? Me, no, unfortunately she's out of the store ATM. However, Kevin, grandfather, is in the back. I can go get him for you. EK, looks annoyed and nods. I go to the back and let my grandfather know there is a customer. He comes out and I go back to packing. A few minutes after my daughter starts fussing. I had changed her recently and I knew that she was hungry. I quickly grab a bottle from my little black cooler, pop it in her mouth and off to sleep she goes while drinking. She was crying for maybe 30 seconds. I give her a little cheek rub and go back to packing. This is when Karen became Karen. EK, you know you're really lucky that you have such nice bosses, they allow you to bring your child to work. Though you and I both know she should be in daycare and you should be focusing on your job. Your baby is a distraction to your work, you couldn't even help me without getting someone else to do it. Me, oh. Laughs, I don't actually work here, I'm just here helping with wrapping giftware for the craft show. My grandparents own the store, Kevin is my grandfather and Catherine is my grandma. I'm their granddaughter and this is their great-granddaughter. Ek then looks to my grandfather in disbelief, which I get because he immigrated from Hong Kong, married my grandma and adopted my dad who are both white as hell. My grandfather then looks back at me with the look of you know I hate dealing with these people. All I could do was shrug like sorry not my fault, grandma didn't warn us about this one. Then because the silence was getting awkward I blurted. Me, yeah, my grandma, Catherine, was super excited when she found out I would be bringing her today. EK, oh. She then goes back to her transaction with my grandfather, I think she was picking up something on hold, and then she leaves. My grandfather shakes his head and goes back to framing. I finished packing. I later told my grandma what happened and she laughed. For reference, I work in an auto parts store and my uniform shirt has their logo embroidered on it. I was using the self-check at the grocery to get lunch and the woman behind me in line walked up to my scanner with me and loaded her things onto the little shelf beside me. So I rang up my sandwich and paid, and as I was walking away with my receipt, she started yelling at me to ring her up. As I kept walking she started screaming wordlessly like a spoiled toddler. Sadly I did not see any employees except the one cashier that had about 5 people in line waiting. The angry lady may still be waiting for me to ring up her items. I work for a major railroad in the northeastern US, and in case you didn't know we've had some storms lately. We needed some 30 amp sockets that we had run out of, because we don't usually keep hurricane-level amounts of parts on hand, so I went to my local big box hardware stores, buying as many of these as we could get our hands on. Unfortunately, many people were cleaning up after these storms, and needed these parts too, so I was having a devil of a time finding them. Because I work for a railroad, I have to be qualified to go near railroad tracks, and I have a badge that shows I can do this. This badge is Safety Orange. One of the hardware retailers is known for Safety Orange. It should be noted that this badge has a railroad logo on it, but I'm sure you can see where this is going. I visit my 5th hardware store of the day yesterday, and I start looking in the aisle where they usually keep these. I find the area, and it is destroyed. Looks like the American Tourister gorilla was looking for wall outlets. So I check their stock on my phone, it says they have 12 of these, and I start looking. After a minute or so of digging around, I hear the mating call of the greater northeastern whooping Karen. I ignore it. Excuse me. I ignore it again. Still digging in the shelves, I find an unopened box of 30 amp 4-wire sockets. Pay dirt. I've been buried up to my waist in dusty shelves looking for these, so I pull myself out with a box of sockets looking like I just wrestled a badger. I come face to face with the Karen. All of 5 feet 2 inches, asymmetrical bob, chunky jewelry, sunglasses from the Kardashian collection, the whole bit. So are you deaf, or just plain stupid? Now I'm pretty low on F/KS to give on a good day due to a congenital malformation of my F/K gland, but today I am completely out. My F/KS are so low, they are in danger of collapsing in on themselves and creating a stable negative F/K event that Stephen Hawking could only dream about. A F/Kularity, you will. So with all the sass I can muster, I say neither Karen, I just don't give a less than shirt greater than about what you have to say. We all know that Karens love being called Karen. Karen, what did you just say to me? Me, I don't give a less than shirt greater than. Karen, where's your manager? I hope you enjoyed your last day working here. You're done. Me, I don't work here. It's why I couldn't care less about you, your opinion, or who your husband is. Karen, of course you do. Why else would you be wearing an employee badge? Me, employees here wear aprons, not badges. Karen, but it's orange. Me, yup. Bye. Karen, you're not going anywhere until I talk to your manager. And she stretches her multicolored talons for my badge. Me, you need to think really hard about what you do next. Any part of you that touches me is going to be broken. I already told you I don't work here. I'm leaving. Find someone else to bitch to, I'm not interested. Now admittedly, this was beyond the pale, but as I said I was tired and irritated from a stretch of long, back-breaking days and this is my 5th store today, and now I have to go and start work, so I did feel bad for how I talked to her as I walked away. I find a few other things I need, and head up to pay. As I'm up at the customer service desk trying to ring up a tax-free sale on this stuff, I hear the shriek of the Karen. That's him. I'm not leaving here until he's fired. A woman in her mid to late 40s with a kind but exasperated face comes walking up to me and says, "Manager, listen, I'm the manager on duty, this woman is in here all the time, and she's a huge pain in my butt, so I'm sure that she's completely full of crap. But she says you pushed her over, called her a bunch of names, and threatened her." Me, literally none of that happened. I told her that if she touched me, she was going to regret it, and that was that. Manager, I thought so. So, I'm going to make a big show of firing you and we can both be done with her. Me, nope. I'm not dealing with her. She acts like a self-entitled hag because you bend over backwards for her every time she throws a tantrum. You do what you want, I'm not playing. Karen was standing behind her, sputtering like a lawnmower engine when I said that, but I didn't hear what happened after that. The cashier winked at me, handed me my receipt, and I left.